Okay, welcome to Stampscaping 101. This is some Stardream 80-pound Lapis Lazuli. I'll get that right one of these days. Quarter page. It's a dark blue, kind of shimmery paper. This is just text weight right here. It's a little bit better if you have the thicker one, but I'm doing so much experimentation. I just bought some thinner ones that'll work just fine for cards as long as I, mount it on something a little bit more substantial. This is my first test with it, and this is the one that I really was curious about in terms of trying silver on a dark blue. Now, I've run a lot of streaks of that silver paint on here as well. They almost look like two different types of cardstock, though, don't they, in terms of value and color? And I think it's because I've applied some of that silver on there, so, that darker region of the actual paper doesn't really show up quite as much on this one. But I really like the look at that one. But here's my question here to myself is, how dark is too dark for something to show up on there in black? So I thought I would try that. Okay, now, the Stardream, I don't find has any problem drying media on it, okay? Now, kind of the foil cards that I've been experimenting around with, they have a problem drying on, inks drying on them quickly. But things like dye-based inks on the Stardreams in the past, it might dry a little bit slower because they are sealed off somewhat, with that whatever finish they have on there. But I don't have any problem with anything drying on it, be it regular pigment inks. The Brilliant certainly dries on them just fine. I'm going to try the Hero Arts Unicorn on this one. Now, I don't know if every Stardream is the same in terms of the finish quality on them, but I'm guessing there is. Okay, now this scene's going to be really simple here. I'm going to have mostly sky in here. Maybe I'll have a little bit of water. This is the Lakeside Cabin right here. I won't be using too many stamps off the set. Maybe it'll just be the one or two, maybe a couple foreground images. I'm not really quite sure. But let's see how this goes first with, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm just going to use regular white pigment ink. And let's go for that cloud, kind of the torn paper towel effect on here. And what I've done is kind of on the arcing portions of this, okay, the top portions, what I will do is I will start building up a little bit of ink, and I'm doing so very gradually. I'm not rushing this, okay, so I don't have a lot of ink on this. And that makes this, it feels more like I'm applying a powder or something like that to the paper. I don't think about it like applying a thick ink. Like, say I've tapped around on here, and it barely leaves anything, okay? Now that means that it takes a little bit longer to get, kind of to build up eventually what you're going after, but that means control over what you're doing, okay? Not that everything has to be, completely in command, you want spontaneity if you're, a watercolorist or whatever, those little things that happen kind of along the way are, some of the most, you know, the best looks, the best parts of a piece, of a given piece. But on something like this, I generally don't want to rush things, okay? Now, you see I just tore the paper towel in a couple different areas again. And you can apply this. Here's the thing that I like to do, and I try to keep a kind of a conscious awareness of, is to kind of vary the amount of ink that I'm applying on here. So I might apply a little bit more with some of the clouds, and then some of the other ones I'll kind of vary it a little bit more, so that you get varying values of these given shapes, so it doesn't look so kind of monotonous. Although, monotonous is okay too. It's just, becomes a little bit more of a pattern, okay, which is not wrong. But I like a little bit more variation, okay? So just applying it down, then, when you get something like that, you can also just apply a little bit more so that you don't have such a straight edge, where your kind of impromptu mask was laid down, okay? So you can just kind of go back in it like this. So it looks a little bit more kind of misty, and the edges of the cloud are a little bit more, they're a little bit less defined, you might say, okay? And then, you see, I can come down here, I can kind of blend these clouds down a little bit more. And see, when you do this in those varying values like that, doesn't it look like somewhere a little bit farther back in the distance, when you kind of have that little variation? See, I can come down here too as well. It's endless. You can, do whatever you want with this type of background. There's just no rules at all. But anyways, that looks pretty good. Okay, now here's the thing that's coming to my mind when I'm doing this now. Since I'm already doing this in the background, if this blue was a little bit too dark for my black impression to show over it, black over dark blue, what I could do maybe is I can bring down some of this cloud down here, some of that white, so that I'm not stamping just directly on dark blue, and I'm stamping on a little bit of that kind of hazy, white over blue, which, just turns it into a lighter blue. But anyways, I've done this type of thing, quite a bit on things like dark matte cardstocks, and even on glossy cardstocks, dark ones. But I haven't tried it so much with the Stardream, the shimmery types of papers. But I don't know, I like that look in the background. See, what it's done is we have that shimmer to it, but the white kind of mutes it, doesn't it? It doesn't have that shimmer to it, so you have that nice contrast. But I'm liking where this is going. I think that looks pretty good. I've always loved the metallics, the iridescent types of papers, but I don't know, I haven't really stamped on them much, if at all. And I don't know, all of these things that I'm using have been around, including the cotton ball, right? Okay, so that looks pretty good. I think that looks like a great little background, I think. I don't know, maybe one day we'll have to try it in, like a silver or something like that. It might be a little bit too reflective, though, I don't know, and loud. but I'm beginning to wonder if, louder is better is not, you know, uh, kind of an accurate statement, considering what, I don't know, some foils that I've been stamping on look like. They are loud, but I don't know, they're really fun, and I don't know. I think they look pretty good. All right, let's try the, I'm just using some Versafine black, okay? And let's try it. Oh, place it right about here. I'm just centering it. You can stamp it wherever you want. I mean, the stamp itself, the cabin is a little bit off center. The rule of thirds type of thing. But let's see how this Versafine stamps over, the dark blue paper, but also over the pigment ink here. Hopefully I get a really good deep impression, okay? Because I think that's what it's going to need, just because it's dark on dark. Now, I think you can do this. I think you could stamp it out in silver or something like that on here. I think that would look fine. I'm just kind of curious about the textural difference between the main impression and the surface of the surface quality of the image. All right, that's what it looks like. I think that looks pretty good. It's interesting to me. The white kind of mutes out the shimmery look, but if you look at that impression, the Versafine, it has a shimmery texture to it. Okay, it's not just because it's wet, because I know what that looks like, but somehow that shimmery texture kind of shows through, but I think that looks pretty good. Hey, I could have even brought some of that cloud down here and had it as a reflection down here. I think that would have looked excellent. Next time. Okay, but I think that looks pretty good. I don't know. It has doesn't it have kind of a, it has kind of a, I don't know, kind of a somber mood, Not meaning sad, but I don't know. I think it looks rich and deep, especially those clouds in the background. Like I said, I wasn't quite sure what this kind of more flat application of the white would look like over the shimmer, but I think that makes it for a good contrast. Sometimes I think if it's maybe too shimmery, maybe it would look too much. I don't know. Okay, so that being said, I think we have options here in terms of our foreground here. I think we could stamp them in white, and that would stand out against that dark background. I think we can stamp it in silver, but I do think that staying with the black imagery might be a touch more stylish looking. I don't know. Let's try this here. Don't be afraid to experiment. Now, that stamped out beautifully on there, and I think that's going to dry just fine. As a matter of fact, it's not. I can see where it was really wet before. Like on some of those tips of those trees, it would have like a dot of a kind of reflective liquid ink. But now, I mean, it's just been sitting here a minute, so I can tell it's already absorbed into the paper. I wouldn't go like this against it right now, but I think it's dry enough. Okay, some reeds down here in the foreground. And see this white right here? It's setting up pretty well. Okay, I think that looks great. This is true black against dark down here, but this pigment ink looks, just fine against it, I think. I didn't know if it would stand out enough, with enough contrast. I think that looks really good. Okay. And look at that shimmer to it. You get that extra benefit of that shimmer, so it becomes a very interactive type of surface. Oh boy. I think that looks good, and it opens up a lot more avenues, because I do have gold, so we'll do some clouds on gold and whatnot. and we'll test out some things like that. But when something works out, it just like opens up some doors, and this one just opened up like 20 doors, you know, in terms of things to try out. This is just a white paint pen here. Let's go for a little bit of extra, you know, little touches in here. I do like the feel of it though, as is. I might not. I've been adding things like sparkly little jewels and things, but just kind of a quiet nature of this scene right here. I think I might just leave it as is without anything too sparkly. Okay, so we're adding that up into the sky, some little stars like that. And why don't I add it down here in the water as well, kind of that reflection aspect of the sky. And I'm kind of debating on whether or not to add kind of a light into that scene. It'd be kind of interesting. I don't have a good yellow paint pen, but if you want to add a little yellow in there, like a warm light coming from within the cabin would be pretty interesting. Or I can just kind of illuminate it with a little bit, you know, this white, and that would put that light right in the cabin. Shall we do that? Okay, let's give it a try here. Okay. And then I'll kind of just put it right down here in the water. I already have it kind of in the water too, so I'm just adding some little dots. And then I'll put some little highlights on some of these rocks. Like it's kind of capturing some of that light coming out of there. Alright, okay, so see that right there? You kind of have to break it up down here a little bit, you know, and just kind of do a little scumbling mark with the pen. And see, I'm just kind of putting a few little dots here and there. Kind of watch it at kind of arm's distance, and you know, it'll give you a better kind of feel of that. So I concentrate a few more of the dots closer to the light, and then as I move away from the light source, I just kind of spread out a few dots here and there. Kind of like that. And kind of, it puts you, us as a viewer, kind of into that cabin, you know. It's like, if the, you know, the light's off, it's like, you know, kind of approach the cabin with trepidation. But if you put a light on and there's, you know, the interior, you know, some structures like that, especially in a nighttime type of scene, it's like, you know, it's like you're going home or something. Okay, I'm just putting a little bit of highlighting on, you know, the tops of some of these clouds. It's kind of delicate. It's not a real light cloud, okay? I mean, I could put more pigment ink in there, but just kind of doing that. It's just like a subtle little thing of light on those clouds. Maybe I'll put a little bit more on this one. So, okay, so doing that, and then, okay, this is, I was kind of debating on whether or not I want to do this, but I think it'll look good on here to add a little focal point into the scene, okay? Alright, so I'm going to start with a little dot right here, okay? And let's add kind of a little twinkly North Star type of thing. I'll do a downstroke like this, okay? You can make it a couple times if you don't get it. Just kind of start there and kind of taper your stroke a little bit, you know, where it kind of dissipates. So I'm kind of taking it at an arcing motion like that. Start off on your dot and do a little check mark like that. Okay, so I have a little bit elongated to match the elongated portrait format of this card, okay? And then, see, 4-point star. And then the secondary points are, I make them a little bit less, shorter. Okay. That. Or you can also put just like one crystal there, and that'd be cool too. All right, there you have it. Doing that little star up there, kind of like that. I mean, this could be any time, but it does make it a little bit more seasonal, doesn't it? I mean, it could be a nice winter scene. You could, stamp out something like a Merry Christmas here, or, you know what I mean, something like that in the scene. I think that would be really cool. Or, or you mount this off. Okay, let's take a look at some, oh, it's like some matting options, okay? Let's see what silver would look like. Okay, now this one is one that I would put white around it for sure, because I have those little white touches in there. So you go with a real thin one to kind of mimic the, the width of the stars and whatnot. But something like that might be kind of interesting as a surface. I don't know, maybe that chrome is a little bit too loud, but I don't think it looks too bad. Okay, so anyways, quick and easy, that's for sure. The clouds, to me are the really fun thing to watch develop there. I mean, it was really subtle, but I don't know, on that Stardream paper. And again, just with regular white pigment ink, you can get a lot of depth in there. So remember just to vary the application of white on there. Mask it off, but then come back in, and add a little more in there. I mean, you can still add more in there if you want to. But see, when you're doing it in a very dry brush type of touch like that, okay? You're never adding so much to where it's like, easy to make a mistake. I mean, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I just did 12 taps there, and that barely shows, okay? But you get up to about 20 or 30, and see what I mean? It's starting to show up there. And it's not like 30 taps takes a long time. We're talking about like a few seconds, okay? But see, this kind of just add in that extra little haze in there, and it makes for, kind of a really effective cloud formation. And you can do as much or as little as you want. It could be super subtle, and I think in the water there, it'd look great too. Okay, so anyways, hope you like the card. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section. Oh, let me see. This is what I didn't do before on my previous one. I need to show this kind of at different angles so you can see that aspect of the reflective lighting. So you go like, look at that. That looks amazing. It's like the lights are out, huh? When you go like that. Look at that cabin. The light in the cabin looks even better like that, huh? Look at that blue. This is why I like it. There's just different personalities to these metallic cards, just depending on which direction you kind of tilt them in, or you reflect the light off of them. Look at that. It looks like black and white almost, huh? Like grayscale. It's like that. Look at how rich that is. This would be interesting if you had some kind of curved application, like you're giving a wine bottle to someone, and you made a tag for it so that it would be, kind of naturally curved like that around the edge. But yeah, I don't know. I love that type of stuff like that. Wow, really dark. All right, thanks for watching.